Hi Prep2, I wish your day is fine. Today we're gonna start with chapter 8 of the novel, which is called David Copperfield. But before we start with chapter 8, we will remember things that happened with David in chapter 7. We can say that David was in love with Dora, and he went to the market and he bought her some flowers, telling her how much he loved her. At that time, Biggity went to London to live with David, and also Miss Betsy Trotwood went to live with David in London. At that time, David had a lot of responsibilities, so he decided to work another job. So he had an offer. He worked as a secretary to Dr. Strong, the headmaster of the school in Canterbury. So now he has two jobs, just to try to treat with his responsibilities. And by the way, we can remember that Julia Mills helped David and Dora to confess love and invited David to see Dora at her house. And let's see what happened after that. In chapter 8, we will start with that part, that David now has two jobs. By the way, the chapter is called David's New Life. Starting from that point, we can say that David is now working for both Dr. Strong and Mr. Spenlow because he needs money to help his aunt and marry Dora. At the court, Tommy Traddles tells David that the McCoopers are moving to Canterbury as Mr. McCooper is going to become assistant to Uriah Heep. Hearing this, David is annoyed. Of course, he doesn't like Uriah Heep. Tommy continues to tell David that Heep has paid all Mr. McCooper's debts in London, which made David feel there's something wrong between Mr. McCooper and Uriah Heep. Biggity returns to Yarmouth to look after him while Daniel is away, and David goes to Julia Mill's house to tell Dora that he no longer has money and that he is now a beggar. But Dora doesn't understand any of his words because, as Miss Mills later tells David, that Dora is a beautiful, innocent child of nature. It means that Dora isn't a practical person. She's so sensitive and she can't stand dealing with problems of money or responsibilities and like that. She's like a child. In the following days, David and Dora keep writing letters to each other. One day, Mr. Spenlow asks David coolly to come at his office to talk privately. Mr. Spenlow is angry because he has known from Miss Murdstone that David keeps writing letters to Dora. Yeah, Miss Murdstone is always doing something bad. She told Mr. Spenlow that Dora and David are sending letters together and they are in love. Mr. Spenlow is angry and tells David that he will burn the letters and that David shall take the idea of marrying his daughter out of his mind. David seeks Miss Mill's advice, but she's helpless. The next day, David goes to work as usual, but he finds out that Mr. Spenlow has died. What a shock, because he has fallen off the carriage and David is terribly shocked. After Dora's father's funeral, Dora's taken to live with her two aunts at Putney in South London. Oh my God, life is too hard with Dora right now. After Miss Betsy's advice, David goes to Devon to see if his aunt's house is still in good condition. After that, he goes to Canterbury to visit the Wickfields. David visits the Wickfields and meets Agnes, to whom he talks about what has happened to him, and as usual, Agnes gives him the advice to write to Dora's aunts to see if he can visit Dora. David always listens to Agnes Agnes is so sensible. During David's stay at the Wickfields, Mrs. Heap keeps watching Agnes and David, and as a result, David doesn't feel comfortable. Uriah tells David that the reason why he has ordered his mother to watch over Agnes as he wants to marry Agnes. So now we know that Uriah wants to marry Agnes. And he thinks that David is his rival, but David tells him that he's engaged to another lady and that he thinks of Agnes as his sister. Uriah is completely happy to hear this from David, and he promises David to tell his mother stop watching him and Agnes. At the last part of the chapter, David notices how weak Mr. Wickfield has become, and Uriah's attempts to make him drink more and more wine. Uriah tells Mr. Wickfield that he loves his daughter. Mr. Wickfield behaves wildly as he doesn't approve of his marriage. And Uriah reminds him that he needs him as he's his partner. Next chapter, we will see what happened with David and Dora. Could David see Dora in her aunt's house, and what happened with them after that? And could Uriah marry Agnes or not? All of these points we will know at chapter 9. But now we are ready to practice what we said. So now ask yourself these questions. Why did David manage 2 jobs? Can you remember? We can say that to help his aunt on one hand, to have enough money to marry Dora on the other. And what did Traddles tell David about the McCoopers? Remember? Yeah. He told them that the McCoopers were moving to Canterbury and Mr. McCooper was going to become an assistant to Uriah Heep. Number 3, why was Mr. McCooper going to work for Heep? Yeah, because Heep has paid all the McCooper's debts in London. Yeah, of course. Number 4, how did Miss Mills describe Dora? Remember? Yes, she said that Dora was a beautiful, innocent child of nature, full of light and happiness. Yeah, but it means that she's not responsible. And number 5, what secret did Miss Murdstone reveal? Yeah, do you remember what happened with Mr. Murdstone? Miss Murdstone did something wrong. Yeah, she revealed the secret love between David and Dora. She gave Mr. Spenlow the letters which David sent to Dora, and it was a bad action. What happened to Mr. Spenlow? Next time or next day, David met Mr. Spenlow. He knew that he was dead. The police had found him dead in the road. Last question. What did Uriah Heep tell Mr. Wickfield? He told him that he loved his daughter and he wants to marry her. And here, this is the part of comment. Can you love a beggar, Dora? Yeah. I'm giving you a second to remember who said this to whom. Of course, to Dora, but who said that? Yeah. These words were said by David to Dora when David told her that he had lost all his money. And here, number 2, Miss Spenlow to you, young man. These words were said by Mr. Spenlow to David when Mr. Spenlow knew the secret love between David and Dora. And the last quotation here, my child and you, Heep? No, never. So these words were said by Mr. Wickfield to Heep when Heep told him that he loved his daughter Agnes and he wants to marry her. At that point, we can say that chapter 8 is finished, and next chapter we will know a lot of new actions and events happen with Dora, David, Agnes, and if you want to know just wait for chapter 9. I wish this session is good for you. Next time, wait for me, and I'm waiting for you.